And we are live, man. Welcome everybody into the Bluebloods, the Coach's Corner edition. Myself, my guy, Coach Fred, and it is the final week of the FCS regular season for the entire country, but like three teams because Alabama State, Southern, and Grambling can't get on the same schedule as everybody. But the final week of the regular season is Soul Bowl week. Brawl the Wild this weekend, a top 5 matchup up there in Missoula. But Coach, man,
Zula.
we know the Soul Bowl, Jackson, Mississippi this weekend. Man, shout out to Jackson. They put up a crazy hype video with like old highlights and pictures, and it's kind of cool seeing like the black and white photos. See, it's weird seeing TC in the highlights as a wide receiver and in those things, man. But Coach, how we feeling? Like I said, man, I don't think this weekend can get any bigger.
Nah. Feeling great, man. Just trying to keep it level. Like I tell my guys, let it build. You don't want it to boil over too early. So our thing is just let it build, and nothing needs to be said. It's us versus the school up the street, and we'll let the chips fall where they may, man. But feeling pretty good.
Man, we have so much to talk about. I mean, got plenty of storylines. The playoff committee gets together on Sunday, and we'll see what the bracket kind of shakes out like. We're going to get into some bubble talks, potential top 8 seeds, pick them. Our game of the week, obviously, Montana, number 3 in the country, hosting number 4 Montana State. We're also going to preview a top 10 matchup, Villanova, Delaware. Got a lot of games in the pick 'em segment, Super Dogs, because we're starting here because last episode, we talked a lot about coaching hires and this coaching carousel that's fired up. Stony Brook makes a change. Southern's fired Dooley. Lots of rumors swirling around Texas Southern that they're not going to update the contract for Clarence McKinney. There's some rumors swirling around Huntsville right now as they get ready to play Mississippi Valley State tonight. We'll see if what happens tonight and what possibly happens tomorrow going into early next week. And Coach, we know at the end of the day, when the end of the regular season comes around, there's always it's going to get fired up here in probably what 72 ish hours or so. It's going to go crazy. But Coach, I wanted to bring it here because there's been a lot of speculation across social media and a lot of different conversations about who should be some of the top targets for head coaching positions this year. And we're kind of in a unique place, especially in the HBCU, I guess, sphere over here, where every time there's a head coaching vacancy, it seems like everyone wants to just throw out a former NFL Hall of Famer or the hottest, a hot name on social media or whatever. And this is where I want to take it, Coach. Have we gotten to the point where people would rather win the press conference with a coaching hire rather than win the games a year or two down the line?
Most definitely. Want to win the press conference, want to win the preseason hype, and we'll worry about the rest of that later. Not thinking about the outside of it. And, I think said school was, caught lightning in a bottle, which put a lot of gas. Diesel burns slower than gas, so which put a lot of diesel on this thing. And, again, caught lightning in a bottle. But you've got to understand that, the hype machine at some point has to meet the grass. And if you don't have the right situation there, you're back where you're at a year and a half, 2 years from now. But I'm with you. I believe that this day and age, social media has taken it to a different level. I don't even think it's about the best candidate. It's about the candidate that can generate the most excitement, the most clicks, the most hype for said university.
And I want to make sure I say this, like that's important too. Like obviously, especially with the underfunding of a lot of the schools, that's important is to bring revenue into the university, but that can't be more important than the wins on the field. And I was doing some research because I want to ask you before I say this, because I've heard people include different names in like the celebrity coaching category. Obviously, you got Prom. People have been throwing Eddie George in there, which I'm fine with because Eddie didn't have any head coaching experience beforehand. But I don't know about you. I don't necessarily throw Mike Minter into the celebrity hire
No.
category. Just like I've seen people mention him, and yes, he was a great NFL player, but I don't consider him a celebrity hire. And I just wanted to get your opinion on that before I said this because I agree with you. I don't think he's in that same realm, even though he was a great former NFL player.
Yeah, I don't. Him, no disrespect to Coach McDowell, no disrespect to A&T's head coach. Those guys all had great NFL playing careers, but I'm like you. I don't put them in that category, just because, again, the spotlight that they had, that they played with, was not what the other said celebrity coaches, so to speak, had.
Now that we kind of laid that out, I wanted to make sure as great of things as the most previous coach did at Jackson. Coach, looking over all the years of coaching, and Eddie George is building something special. I think he took a different approach than what said coach who's now in Colorado did. 2 conference championships, 0 national championships, and 0 FCS playoff appearances for celebrity hires right now in college football. I get that it's cool to get the clicks. It's fun to talk about, but at the end of the day, like history has shown that it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be an instant national title contender. And like for me, it's given like some of the suggestions that I've heard is giving me a kind of I'm too lazy to do the research to pick out real candidates. So I'm just going to say Ray Lewis should be the candidate for every opening in the country, or Cam Newton should be the candidate for every opening in the country. Ed Reed, who insert X name there. It's like, to me, I feel like there might be some fits where those guys would work, but it's just like everyone wants to take it as like a one size fits all band-aid. It's like, if this program's bad, you can just go hire a former NFL superstar and bro, that program is going to turn around instantly. And it's just, man, I feel like, and I know you're right now, you're an assistant coach at a SWAC school. I feel like people who are in your position, it regardless if you have relationships with the head coaches, whatever, it almost like decreases the opportunities for you guys to further your career, because you got a guy who now Prime was a high school offensive coordinator or whatever like that, but some of these other coaches that people are suggesting have 0 coaching experience whatsoever outside of maybe like youth league with their kids. And it's like the Anton Sewells, the Coach Fredericks, the Matt Leones, the Chinnis Berries at D2, all these coaches are missing out on potential opportunities because people just want to try to grab a quick fix.
It's what's hot. And then, when you're talking about that, Coach Harold Jackson was the former coach up at Jackson State, had a great NFL career. It didn't translate. Now, one would say or could say he wasn't given time to get it to that. But, it was a different game when Coach Jackson was the head coach at Jackson. College football was different, I mean. So now with this day and age, I think you also have to ask yourself, does Ray Lewis even want to coach? So when you start throwing these names out there, creating the buzz, creating the deal, do those guys even want to coach? Because a lot of times those guys have so much other business going on that this would not even be priority number one. And I think at the end of the day, you want somebody that's going to make Bluebloods University priority number one, not side here, side there, but priority number one. And again, like I said, the people up the street caught lightning in a bottle. How many? There's nobody else in his stratosphere. I mean, let's just be honest. There's nobody else, and everybody hates him now because of what happened. But let's understand this. He is who he is, and he's been him for a long time. There ain't another one that you can call that would measure to what he created. There's not another coach, a celebrity coach, I think, unless you go get Denzel Washington or somebody like that. But, as far as a former player, I don't think you can go find another former player that would match Coach Sanders' light, and everybody's looking for that. You know, I heard Marshall Faulk come up today. I think Marshall Faulk is working with the NFL Network. You know, Coach Leslie Frazier, we had down here, came to visit for a game, spoke to the team on request of us. He works for the NFL Network and is probably going to be up for a head coaching job in the NFL or back to the sidelines as a DC. So, I mean, it's fun to, you know, throw all those things out there. But in reality, how many of those guys really want to do it and how many of those guys can actually do it?
And I think and my guy Hitman in the chat, my favorite guy in there, and Mr. Campbell said this last show, and I missed his comment while we were talking about this, as we did an hour on coaching last episode. No, he said, and this is a good point, unless a quote unquote celebrity coach also has a 4-star quarterback as a son, who would immediately be arguably the best quarterback in the conference and arguably that school's history, we're not having the same conversation as well. Like, let's not forget that hire came with a guy who went on to win the Jerry Rice Award, went on to be a candidate for the Walter Payton Award, and is now what top 10 in the FBS in passing yards. It's not the same. It's not, like, unless Marshall Faulk has a son that is a 4-star quarterback who's going to change the trajectory. Because let's be honest, in the SWAC, and especially at the FCS level, you have to have a quarterback to win. Like, that's like when you go track back to SWAC championship history, the team with the top 2 quarterback is winning the championship. I mean, look at what happened when Grambling got Kincaid. Look when Felix Harper exploded for his breakout season at Alcorn. Look at what happened when Shador stepped in this year. Coming into the season, who was voted the best quarterback in the conference? Jeremy Musa, who is right now in the top of the SWAC. FAMU, because they got Jeremy Musa. I mean, it's just, Coach, I'm with you. I just had to bring this up because I just feel like it's getting out of hand at this point, because I do think there are some, let's just call them big name hires that could work. But we have to start being more realistic with the options, right? I mean, we can't just say, "Oh, is he an NFL Hall of Famer? Does he have a big social media presence? Perfect head coach."
You know, and like you said, we can move on. I can tell you now that, you know, Ray Lewis, just a kid from the 863 as well, doesn't have any desire to coach college football. And that's not, you know, hearsay. That's, you know, that comes from him. So I laugh every time someone says, "Oh, Ray would be great. He wants the job." And I'm just like, no, he don't. You know, no, he don't.
And this isn't a shot at Southern, because I do think, because I'm saying this because I think Southern is a special job. It's one of the best jobs, especially in the SWAC, maybe even at this level of college football, where you're in a talent-rich state. You have money behind you. You have facility, like a great fan base. Like, you have stuff going behind you. Southern is not going to work with a celebrity head coach. Like, if I ranked SWAC jobs where a celebrity could come in, and because the thing with me with Southern is, I don't think they're going to hire a celebrity and be like, "Hey man, just come in here and do whatever you want." There's going to be some like guardrails put up where they're like, "You can't go that way, can't go this way. We want you to win. We want you to be yourself, but this is still Southern, and we're not going to get away from that."
Hey man, we understand who you are, but do not come in here taking the G off the helmet. Get your point across some other way, but don't take the G off the helmet. You know, back to that situation. You know what I mean? Do what you do, but dude, you're messing with the wrong thing right now. And yeah, so I fully agree with you on that.
Coach, let's shift over this way, man. Bracketology. Man, playoffs are rapidly approaching. Man, I think there's probably close to 15, 16 games this week that could have some sort of impact on the playoff race. Listen, you already got coaches vouching for their team. Mercer's head coach has went on a full press run for Mercer getting in the playoffs. It would be their first appearance in school history, Coach. When you look at this, I think let's address the top 8 seeds. I think me and you can both agree South Dakota State. I don't even think it matters if they win or lose this weekend. They're number one.
Right.
Montana State, regardless of who wins, they're both in, and the winner probably has a really strong argument for the 2 seed. You have Furman, who's locked up right now, possibly with argument to be the number 2 seed. That's going to be an interesting debate. South Dakota's probably locked in. That's the 5th seed. But then you're looking around. I mean, do you have just like because here's how I feel about Idaho. I want to say they have a seed locked up, but Coach Giovanni McCoy is not expected to play this weekend. You have a sneaky good offense with Idaho State, a rivalry game. They're going to be fired up. If Idaho loses again, they would have a loss to Weber State and Idaho State to end the season. Should they be a lock to be a seed?
I don't think so. Good teams don't enter this thing on 2-3 game losing streaks, and I don't think the committee would have a stamp of grace to give them that. And it's a tricky situation, like you said, because your quarterback's not playing, your guy, your leader. I don't want to call it a must win for them to get it, but it's a must win.
I agree. I'm with you. I think if they win, I think that they'd obviously have a seed worthy resume, but I think there could be a argument if they lose that they got to move out. I think if Albany wins, they're probably they're a lock to be a seed. They have, I forgot who that it's someone not good this weekend. So I think Albany's in there. So that would put you at 6 seeds or right now. And then I think Delaware, the winner of Delaware Villanova would be my last seed.
And that's a game that I think is very important. And that was one of the things that I was going to ask you today. If Villanova pulls this off, where does Delaware go? How far? Because they have a pretty good resume.
They're still in at large bid, but I don't think either team has a resume to be a seed with a loss too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Seed wise, I mean, Delaware get in, but seed wise, how far would they drop out of that?
They drop out of the top 8. Because the only teams that have seeds are the top 8. The rest aren't seeded, so they drop out of the top 8. Excuse me. They would get in at large bid. I think because I think South Dakota State has 1 locked up. Even though I think Furman has an argument for number 2, Coach, they're probably going to give it to whoever wins this weekend between Montana and Montana State. Yeah, I will say, though, if you're a Furman fan, you should root for Montana State. Because if Montana State wins this weekend, they have a weaker resume compared to Montana, in my opinion, right now. They're not as hot. So I think Furman would have a shot to get the number 2 against Montana State. But we'll just say South Dakota State, the winner of Montana State, Furman at 3. I like South Dakota at 4. I think the loser of Montana State falls in at 5. If Idaho wins, I'll put them at 6. I think Albany gets 7, and then the winner of Villanova Delaware should be the 8th seed. That's how I kind of see it right now.
Albany has Monmouth.
Yeah, they'll beat Monmouth, in my opinion. With that defense,
my guy goes off for 400 yards.
That's the thing is, college football is about matchups. I know we're going to pick that game later, but the fact that Albany's front 7 has been so good against the run, if they can just force Monmouth to throw the ball, I don't see how they don't get out of there with a win, because they match up so well against Monmouth, because Monmouth has been really bad throwing the football this year.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's all about styles, it's all about matchups. So even with the loss, you think Montana State still hangs in there and doesn't fall too far?
No, I think Montana State has the resume to stick in there. I mean, let me pull it up real quick. You got a 4-point loss on the road at South Dakota State, which is a quality. I hate to say it, it is a quality loss. You have a win over Sac State on the road, a 3-point loss against Idaho, which has aged poorly. I don't know. Maybe now that you said something, and Patrick, it's a good point. That'd be 3. My argument would be, though, here would be my problem. who would you put above them if you take Montana State out? Who do you put in the top 8 to replace Montana State? Do you put it? You can't put in Sac State because Montana State beat Sac State. Sac State hasn't really played well. That loss to Montana really hurt. 34-7, 34 unanswered. I don't think you could put the loser of Delaware, Villanova in there. Do you? I mean, who else would be up for it? Austin P, maybe, if they win this weekend.
They got a strong possibility of not winning this weekend.
Central Arkansas, that's a tough game. That's a really tough. See, Patrick, we already got you Albany in there. Now, North Dakota State would be. I
don't think you could put them there. I don't think they can get a seed. I don't think they should get a seed. You go back and you look at the losses they took, and then in the fashion they took. If they get a seed, and it's purely, I'm saying if they get a seed, it's purely off of program history because they haven't looked that good this year. And I know they battled, but if we really want to be honest and peel back the onion, should they even be in the top 10 now with the losses that they've taken when they've taken those losses?
So let me ask you, they'd be 8-3 with a win this weekend. They'd have a win over Central Arkansas, which is aged really well. That's a top 5 now, top 25 win. Not then, but now. They have a close loss to South Dakota. That loss to North Dakota is a bad loss. I'll give you that. What was that 49-24 loss? Yeah. They got the loss to South Dakota State, obviously, but they would end the season with back-to-back wins over top 25 teams. They had the dominant win last week against Southern Illinois, who is number 11 in the country, and they would beat Northern Iowa on the road, a top 25 team right now. So they'd end the season with so much momentum with 2 top 25 wins. Would that be enough? You would have 3 ranked wins now, and all your losses would be to top 20 teams. Was that a better resume than a 3-loss Montana State, in your opinion?
I just remember the loss to South Dakota State, and like we both said, that could have been worse. And I think that they've been maybe a little less than impressive throughout the year. Again, we're not holding wins and losses and good wins, good losses. Technically, there's no such thing. But have they looked better than a Delaware team?
I mean, not 100%. I think if you let's just say Montana State drops out, I still think, in my opinion, I get the debate. I just think the committee is going to give it to them, to be honest with you.
Because of who they are, no doubt.
Yeah, but if you take Montana State out, I think it's going to come down to North Dakota State, sadly, and possibly a 9-2 Austin P team if they win this weekend, because Austin P would be 9-2. The only 2 losses came in week 1 and week 2. They had a road loss to Southern Illinois and a loss to Tennessee. So they would only have 1 FCS loss. They would have wins, against Gardner-Webb, who, if they win, they're the Big South they're co-Big South OVC champs. They're in the playoffs. They would have a win at Eastern Kentucky, which is a solid win, and they would have a top 20 win over Central Arkansas this weekend. Is that a better resume? Strength of schedule wise, maybe not, but I will say the Massey rankings love Austin P this year, which is the computer rankings that the committee can look at in terms of strength of schedule and stuff. I mean, Austin P's been like top 15 all year.
Yeah,
they love them.
Yeah, and they've battled, no doubt about it. I'm just, you know how I am about the track record, the program history, how that weighs in, because I'm still salty about the Western Carolina, even though Western Carolina kind of took some lumps, but they should still have been lot higher.
If Western Carolina would have beaten Mercer, I think Western Carolina would have been a seed. That Mercer loss took them out of it.
Yeah, they dropped the ball, but it goes back to grading and how you look at it. To me, you can't look at one team one way and then look at another team a different way just because they have different program history. And I think that would definitely play into this situation if they got a middle of the road, a middle of the pack type seed. If they somehow magically became number 5, I think that would be I don't want to say a slap, but I think that would be a jab at everybody else that they're ahead of just because.
Yeah, so we got about 5 more minutes here if we got to move to picks, but the bubble teams, I think this year out of all other years, Coach, is going to tell us exactly where this committee thinks, because you have an interesting case now. Let's just assume Howard wins this weekend. You're going to have a 9-win Central team with a ranked win over Elon, a then ranked win. Elon is not ranked anymore. They're probably going to finish with a losing record, sadly, with a terrible strength of schedule and a 30-point loss to Howard, who was 5-5. You have Incarnate Word, who's a 9-win team, 0 ranked wins, 0 signature wins, a bad loss to Nichols, but they're sitting at 9 wins. Both of those teams would have sub D1 wins as well, because Incarnate Word played North American and Central played Winston-Salem State. Then you have Youngstown State, Southern Illinois sitting there on the bubble too, who are probably going to be 7-win teams.
Yep.
But have a extremely tough strength of schedule, signature wins. Youngstown has a top 5 win over Southern Illinois at the time. Southern Illinois has played all those top Missouri Valley Conference teams. Coach, this comes back to your debate for you. Are you putting Central and UIW in with 9 wins, terrible strength of schedules, really no signature wins? Or are you taking the MVFC teams, Youngstown State, Southern Illinois, and throwing them into the playoffs?
I think you got to go the other way. Just to be clear, I really want Howard to win because I want to see how it actually happens with Central. Because they have, to me, I think they have the resume to get in. Now, was that Howard loss bad? But there's a lot of teams that will be in that will have equally as bad losses. But you're talking about a loss to the conference champ. How much weight would that have? So I really want Howard to win just to see how it goes for them. But I think you would have to take Southern Illinois has played good ball. Youngstown has played really good ball. I don't know how you leave those teams out, but somebody's got to be left out, no doubt about it. So it's just going to be interesting, man. I'm going to stay away from it, but I think all those teams have strong resumes, but I really want Howard to win because I really want to see what happens with Central in the process.
Yeah, I want to see a Central Western Carolina game so bad in the first round. I'm praying for that. And then let the winner go play Furman. I would love to see that. But, Coach, so right now, going into this week, you got Youngstown is 6-3 against the FCS with a top 5 win and a top 10 strength of schedule right now, just to kind of give you their resume at least. Southern Illinois is 5-4 in the FCS, but has a top 25 win and an FBS win over Northern Illinois in the 5th ranked strength of schedule. When you look at Central, 7-1 FCS, a top 25 win, the 94 strength of schedule, no FBS win, of course. And then you got Incarnate Word, 7-1 against the FCS, no top 25 games, 85th strength of schedule. I'll be honest, if I had to pick 2 teams, and this is going to piss some people off, I'm picking Youngstown and Central to get in over Incarnate Word and Southern Illinois.
I'm with you. And Incarnate Word, I mean, if they get in, it's because I think a lot of teams fell out ahead of them just because of the strength of schedule. And, everybody always talks about that as a reason why the MEAG, SWAC teams don't get in because of strength. So, it can't go both ways in this situation because their schedule is worse than Central's. So that's why I'm like, come on, Howard, finish the deal. let's see what happens. Let's see what's being said if Central doesn't get in.
Yeah. And, Southern Illinois has that win over Austin P week 1. That looks really good, but the committee said they don't look at that. And the thing with Youngstown is I feel bad for them because they'll beat Murray State this weekend. So they'll be 7-4. That loss to UNI.
Yep.
Yeah, that loss to UNI, what was it, like week 5-ish? I think it was like September 30th. I feel bad for them because I do think they should get in. But it's almost like you had your chance to win. Like, I get it. And I get the frustration for Valley fans because they look at themselves kind of like the SEC of the FCS. They're like, bro, we have to play North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Southern Illinois has been ranked all year, North Dakota, UNI. Like, we've had like 8 teams ranked at one point this year. And I get the frustration because, some of these teams haven't had to play the gauntlet that you have had. But at the end of the day, all these teams have lost to teams that they shouldn't have, and have slipped up in key positions. And it's at the end of the day, you can only blame yourself for not winning the games that you should have
won.
Yeah. So I see both sides of it. We've talked about this a million times. Shout out to my guy Bryce, man. And I think Mercer's in. Coach, they have a bye week this week. They finished 8-3. They had that win over Western Carolina, which is a top 15 win. I think Mercer's locked in at 8-3.
I want to say that, but I just, again, like you said, style makes fights, and their style has just been so up and down that if it's something that comes up close, I just don't know if they get into it. You know what I mean? I don't have a lot of confidence in that because they are one of those teams to me that can score 50, but then they're also one of those teams that can come out and just give you 6 points. I think style has a lot to do with bubble teams. You may not agree with me, but I think the style has a lot to do with teams that are on the bubble.
It's not supposed to. Now, is that
no? It's not supposed to.
Yeah.
But
if it does, then hey, that is a good point. But when I look at them, Coach, they have one of their losses is to Ole Miss, so they only have 2 FCS losses. One came to Furman on the road, and the other was a close loss to Chattanooga. But I think, to me, I look at teams that are hot right now. I want the hottest teams in the country in the playoffs. If you're on a winning streak and you're on the bubble, that to me, that should give you a little bit of a leg up. They've won, 4 or 5 consecutive games, including a road win at number 10 Western Carolina. Give me Mercer in the playoffs.
I'm getting what you're saying, but then it goes back to what I'm saying. They are hot. There's a lot of hot teams, but if there's one hot team that's averaging more points than they are, like last year, Fordham was averaging 80 points a game.
And they got in there.
They got in. They were that. Now, there probably was a team that was equal to them on the bubble, but not scoring at a rate that they were scoring. So I think it's not supposed to. It's not on paper. But if we come in and we're both on the bubble equal, I score a lot more than you do, that I really feel like at the end of the day that has something to do with it.
So just to let you know, there's a lot of people that have Mercer as a better lock to make the playoffs in Western Carolina right now.
See, now I'm really
because listen, hang on, because I get what you're saying. Western Carolina has to beat VMI this weekend. They'll be sitting at 8-3, 8-2 in the FCS, just like Mercer, and Mercer has the head-to-head.
Yeah, but I'm still taking Western.
I feel you. But yeah, I think Mercer and Western Carolina are both locked in as long as Western Carolina wins this weekend. And we'll move on to picks here, man. But shout out to my guy Hitman. Do we see Central advancing past round 1, Coach? And this is the easiest question that I've been asked all season. I need to see the bracket. It depends on who they play. Because listen, there is a big difference in the first round. Like it just depends on who they play. I think I would love to see them.
It's supposed to be rules on first round travel. That's kind of how matchups go. It's supposed to be rules on that. Now, it's not like they're supposed to not have to go up into the mountains or anything like that in that first round. So what would be close? What region? What would it be?
So based off the region, you got Gardner Webb right there. I think if in Western, I think it would be Gardner Webb or Western Carolina. I think those are the two, possibly Mercer, depending on how the matchups go. I don't remember it. Maybe Timothy can tell me in the chat if Davidson finds a way to get in for the Pioneer. Davidson's in North Carolina right there, and Davidson's a non-scholarship school. They would beat Davidson within an inch of their life, but so I think those are the three. But the problem is if there's three and Gardner Webb gets matched up with Western Carolina and the next closest is already matched up to someone closer than Central,
gotta take that trip.
The leftover teams get screwed. But I think so if Butler beats Drake this weekend, Davidson is in. So you're probably looking at Western Carolina or Davidson. And I personally,
3 teams.
Western Carolina would be a tough matchup. I'm not picking that one right now because that's one of those ones I need to see.
Like 63-56 type thing.
God, the over-under would be 900 in that game. I mean, it would just be who scored last. But I will say they would beat Davidson. And the funny thing is, Tennessee State made a run to the second round of the playoffs in 2013. They got lucky and got matched up with a non-scholarship school. I want to say it was Butler, beat Butler to death. They get to the second round and it quickly got out of hand. But the two brackets I've seen, Coach, is the two brackets I've seen have Western Carolina and Central playing. We'll see who hosts. I don't think Western Carolina is rolling in bread like people think. So that maybe Central can host if they want to put up enough money. We'll see. But I don't think it's a tough travel game to go to Cullowhee or whatever it's called. But the question mark for me is, who is the second round matchup? That determines everything for a potential Central run, because Craig Haley has the winner of North Carolina Central, Western Carolina going to Brookings for the death sentence.
Yeah,
you're not getting past the second. I'm telling you, I don't care who goes to Brookings. South Dakota State's. I'm already, Coach. When me and you are going to print out our brackets. We're going to fill them out on the show after on Monday's show. I'm writing South Dakota State in pen. The rest I'll put in pencil. South Dakota State's going in pen. They're going to play in Frisco. If Central has to go to Brookings, that is literally like living on death row, knowing that you're walking to slaughter. They're going to beat everybody. Yeah, but Sam Herder in his bracket has the winner of Western Carolina, North Carolina Central going to South Dakota to play South Dakota, which is a much more, I don't think Central wins that game, but it's a much more winnable game than South Dakota State.
On paper, yeah, no doubt.
Yes. I know. I think in real life, listen, like South Dakota is a good team, but that's a game you could possibly win. South Dakota State beat South Dakota on the road by like 30 points, and it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
It's a different level.
It's all in where you go and what direction. Ain't no doubt. I'm with you.
So I think the best chance to make a run past the second round, I'm trying to think, Coach, we've kind of laid out the seeds. You got South Dakota State, UAlbany, South Dakota, Delaware, Montana, Montana State, Furman, and possibly Idaho. We'll just go with that. Who are the top two? Who are the best matchups for Central out of those 8 teams?
Idaho, because they're indoors.
I like that. In terms of on-field matchup, God, Furman's so good, though. Furman's so freaking physical.
Yeah.
I'll probably say Delaware, then Furman. Just because Furman's light travel, that's probably, you could still probably make that stadium 50-50. And Central, and I think Central can match the physicality of Furman pretty well. Delaware, I haven't really been sold on them this year. They struggle with Elon, who has kind of a similar approach. I think Central and Davius Richard, if he can get over the finger problem he's having, that could be a good matchup. It's just, I don't love South Dakota State for anybody. That's not a shot at Central. I don't like that South Dakota State for anybody in the playoffs right now. I don't like the Montana matchup because you're not going to Missoula and winning in December. I don't like Montana State because you are not going to Bozeman and you're probably not winning that game either. Idaho isn't terrible, especially if Giovanni McCoy is hurt. That moves to number 1.
Oh, yeah.
You can win
Plus-
that game
plus
without
indoor.
McCoy.
Yeah, plus indoors.
And Albany would be a tough matchup. I mean, Morgan played them really tight, so that would be another one. But I think Delaware, to me, I think would probably be the route I would go. But we'll see. I think it's going to be Western Carolina, Davidson. Central will beat Davidson. 50-50 matchup against Western Carolina. But, Coach.
Come on, Howard. Make this happen.
I'm telling you, man. Let's move to Super Dog picks, Coach. Give me your Super Dog picks for this week. I finally went back. Man, I had a lot of calculating to do. I had to go back and look at everything. Coach, I got you by 2 points right now, and both of us only have 2 outright wins on the season. which is good. We got 20 plus points, which means we've been hitting the spread. Our teams just haven't been winning the game.
Oh, man. My Super Dog, if I wasn't working at Alcorn State, I would take Alcorn State in the
I got
12
you.
and a half.
Just hang. I got you. I got you. That's one of mine.
Yeah. Northern Arizona, I'm going to take that for 4.5 and run with it. I'm going to take UCA. I really feel that they can, not saying they're going to win the game, but I think they get within that 7-point deal. I think this one's a little closer than 7 points. And then, I always give you the unders to take. That Valley game, take the under 49. Campbell game, take the under 57.5. Take the under on those and run with them.
Yeah, I'm with you on. I like that set, the under on that one. Listen, any game that Valley's playing in right now is the under for me.
Thank you. I'm winning.
I got 2 HBCU picks this week. I'm taking Morgan State plus 9 against Howard.
Oh,
Coach, that defense
it's good.
is amazing, and this as a coach. That Central game was their Super Bowl this year. That's an emotional letdown for most college football teams the next week.
I'm living in that.
Yeah, there you go. We're going to pick that game later. I'm not going to give away my pick. If you're giving me 9 to 10 points with that Morgan defense, I like my chances there, especially with Morgan knowing they can ruin Howard's season this weekend.
Ain't no doubt.
I like that one. And then, Coach, you're going to like, I know you're going to like this one. Give me Alcorn State 12.5 against Jackson.
I'm taking that one.
I'm taking that one all day, man.
I like that one.
And let's be honest. Jackson, has Jackson beat a team by more than 10 at home this year?
Cookman was right at it. Let me make sure.
No, Cookman was under 10. You remember Cookman had a chance to win it late.
Had a chance to win that game. Yeah.
Texas Southern had a chance to win late. And then Alabama State beat them at home.
Yep. So you're right. You're right.
Yeah. Give me Alcorn State covering that. We're not going to pick that game, obviously, because coach is on the show, but I like Alcorn to cover. If you're giving me 13.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Give me 2 touchdowns against Jackson State this weekend at home. Yeah, I think Alcorn covers that with ease. So I'm really confident in my 2 picks this week, Coach. That 12.5, I agree. 12.5 is disrespectful. That's so disrespectful for that game. And I understand what happened last weekend. 12.5 is crazy.
I'm with it.
That's nasty work. That's nasty work. I'm just gonna say it. Shout out to my guy Banks. That is nasty work. But Coach, we got to get to our game of the week. And I mean, there was no question. The 122nd Brawl of the Wild this weekend, number 3 Montana hosting number 4 Montana State. Coach, Montana leads the all-time series 74, 42, and 5 right now.
He's 74.
Yeah, Coach, this stretches back to the 1800s for a rivalry.
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
It's insane, man. I mean, this is going to be the game to watch. I think this is, in my opinion, one of the best rivalries in the country at any level. Coach, Montana State, shockingly, a 5-point favorite on the road over the Grizz. Who do you have taking it this weekend?
Man, I got if Steve McDowell can keep pace without making a big mistake, he's got over 1,000 passing, 1 INT. If they can get the run game and control the clock and have the defense come out the way they started the Idaho game, I think they have, and they're at home. I think they have a chance for, an impressive win. Now, if they make this a track meet, I don't know how they survive it for 4 quarters. So it's going to be on the quarterback position, I think, even though defensively they've got to play like they played the first half versus Idaho to give themselves an opportunity. But I'm going to go with the home team in this one here, and it's going to be one of those 27-21 type ball games.
I like it. I mean, the matchup between Montana State's rushing attack, which is one of the top in the country, obviously, 301 yards per game this year, Coach. 7.5 yards per carry as a team, and almost 40 rushing touchdowns, going up against a Montana front seven. It's holding opponents to less than 85 yards per game, less than 3 yards per carry, and has only allowed 5 rushing touchdowns this year. Sign me up for that. I mean, sign me up. And I'll say this. It's tough to kind of judge what you're going to get from Montana's offense because we've seen such large fluctuations from the Grizz offense. But again, Clifton McDowell, coach, is now 6-0 as the starting quarterback for Montana this year. He's got that team rolling. And I love what Eli Gilman's doing. I think if we're going to talk awards in a week or so, I think he's probably the very, very strong favorite for the Jerry Rice Award right now for the best true freshman in the country. And when you look at this team defensively, coach, they're not necessarily a team that's going to suffocate you like a South Dakota State. They're coming to force negative plays. They're blitzing. They're very, very aggressive. And I love that. Man, I love how this team can just pin their ears back and get after you. Braxton Hill, Ryder Meyer, Tyler Flink, all these guys can go make plays, and their secondary also does an excellent job of forcing turnovers. And it's going to be really interesting because, Coach, Montana State's known for the run game. Last week against Eastern Washington, threw for 4 touchdowns and almost 300 yards through the air. They're healthy. Tommy Millott is back. Him and Sean Chambers are a dynamic 1-2 duo, and we know all the talent they got at running back. Julius Davis, Jared White, Scotty Humphrey, Elijah Elliott. They have so much talent. And my question is, do they have enough defensively, coach, to slow down this really, really hot Montana offense? I'll be honest, coming in, I was 50-50 on this game. And, Coach, what's the saying on the show? When in a 50-50 game, I like the home team. And I also, not just the home team, you have an environment in Missoula that is probably one of the best environments in the country. And I don't know, outside of South Dakota State, is there a hotter team in the country than Montana right now?
They're rolling.
Rolling. I think Montana finds a way to get it done, Coach. I think I'm going to go 3-point win. I think it's going to be competitive, but I like Montana to make a play late in the game I think it's going to be back and forth. And I'm so pissed. Listen, shout out to James Madison, former FCS team doing their thing. Game day should be in Missoula this year. Game day should be in they were at this game last year, Coach, when it was in Bozeman. They should be in Missoula this week, but I'm going Montana by 3. Coach, you got Montana by about 7 in this game. Our other game of the week, Coach, we had to talk about it. Number 10 Villanova at number 7 Delaware. Winner could possibly win a share of the CAA championship and be a lock for a seed in the playoffs. Do the Blue Hens get it done at home, Coach, or the Wildcats sneak in to the top 8 of the FCS playoffs?
I think ROC keeps the Blue Hens moving, man. I just think too much offense. Even though Villanova can do just as much offensively. Again, like you said, the home team with everything. I don't want to say everything on the line, but a whole lot on the line for this Blue Hen team. Like you said, I think a win at home definitely locks up a seed. At least gets you playoff contention at the house, 1, maybe 2 rounds. And I think they have a lot to play for. Not that Villanova doesn't, but I just think ROC is playing pretty good right now at the quarterback position. And if you have a quarterback, you have yourself a pretty good team.
Man, it's just, I know how hot they are because they've won 5 consecutive games since that Albany loss. And Delaware's coming off that disappointing performance against Elon. But I'm telling you, if Marcus Yarns is 100% healthy, Delaware is really, really tough to stop. That kid is just electric at running backs. It's almost 800 yards, 14 touchdowns on the ground. Cumbie does a great job of being the backup there, relieving him. It's kind of like the shiftier, more explosive option. Jordan Townsend, Joshua Youngblood, the All-American transfer from Kansas State, has been rolling in terms of wide receiver. And their defense coach, even though they play that bend but don't break, they make you make the mistake. I think that's going to work, man. And Villanova, to be honest with you, hasn't. I know they beat Elon 21-0, and that's a head-to-head that Delaware didn't fare well in. Against elite teams with a lot of playmakers, they struggled, especially against that Albany team. I got a feeling Delaware is going to find a way to pull this one out, especially at home. I was not sold on this guy, and Coach, you know this. Quarterback play for Delaware, I was very critical of early in the season. And it's just like every game he keeps finding his rhythm. Ryan O'Connor has just consistently improved, and so I like Delaware to pull this one out in a close one over Villanova. And like Timothy said, if Delaware wins, Albany gets upset, and Richmond wins, Richmond can still get the auto bid.
Timothy's on his man.
He's pissed at us. He's pissed at us right now. He's not a Montana guy. He likes Montana State by 10 this weekend.
Oh,
a big one. A big
get
one.
The applesauce, man.
But let's shift to our pick'em, Coach, man. Just some quick hitters real quick. Number 23, Harvard at Yale. Man, we know the history behind this rivalry. Does Harvard get it done, or can Yale pull off the massive upset? Remember, Harvard did clinch a share of the Ivy League last week already.
I think I have to go the opposite way of what I'm thinking you're going, just to try to get a leg up on you. I'm going with the home team to win this one.
Ooh.
Give me Yale.
I like it. Listen, you got me by a game in the pick'em, so this is a big risk because you might be giving away your lead. But I like Harvard, man. The defensive line's elite. They keep finding quarterbacks out of nowhere, man. They've made multiple quarterback switches, and they just keep finding elite guys to make plays.
I like playing well. Yeah,
man, I like it, and I think Harvard this year just has that it factor. They're playing well under Murphy. This is a guy that's been the head coach, like we talked about last episodes, before I was born. Like this is insane. I like Harvard to beat Yale this weekend. But listen, Yale has a really, really good team. Nolan Grooms, Mason Tipton is a real problem quarterback to wide receiver connection, but I really, really like Harvard this year. Coach, the MEAC game of the week, Morgan State at Howard. Can the Bison win the MEAC this weekend?
It's funny, I have it written down right here what you were just talking about in the Super Dogs. Can Howard avoid the letdown after a big win? That part is so underrated when you're talking about kids, sports, all that after a big win. I think Howard avoids it. They know what's on the line. I don't think it's pretty. I don't think it's a 50-piece, but I do think they pull it out at home with the opportunity to win the only ring in the conference.
I like it, man. I'm writing this down for you. You've got Howard. I'm going upset. I like Morgan.
You said it. Yeah.
I like Morgan in this one, Coach. Like I said, the letdown seems inevitable for me. And also, Quentin Williams, throughout his entire career, he's played well this year, has struggled against elite defenses. If I'm Anton Sewell, I'm pinning the ears back and we're getting after him and we're going to force him into mistakes. I know the question is, can Morgan's offense score? I think the defense has 2 touchdowns this weekend.
Yeesh.
I think Morgan's defense goes out and makes a statement. Give me Morgan State in the upset. And coach, if Delaware State can do the miraculous and upset Central, I know.
Don't even finish.
Morgan can go to the Celebration Bowl.
Don't even finish your statement.
Or neither of us are picking Delaware State, right?
At all.
With an angry Trey Oliver. Oh God, it's going to be disgusting, man. Coach. Number 19 UT Martin traveling to Sanford. Sanford just playing to play. UT Martin needs to win to secure their spot in the postseason. Do the Skyhawks get it done on the road against Michael Hires and them guys?
I go with them. UT Martin to take this one for all the reasons that you said. Plus, this is the last one, senior day for Sanford. I just think UT Martin, team that's focused, knows what's in front of them. So I take the road team in this one. I take UT Martin.
I like them too. Defensive line, elite. Running game, elite. And Sanford's defense has not played spectacularly this year. I think this is a bad matchup. I think this team clinched last weekend, clinched a part of that Big South OVC title. They know they need this win. Sanford, I know they're playing kind of loose because they have nothing to lose, but on the flip side, they also don't have anything to play for. UT Martin does. They're going to come in fired up. And I think that backup running back last week had a stupid game. And now with the Sam Franklin with a 1-2 punch, UT Martin could be dangerous. I like the Skyhawks. Coach, Central Arkansas at number 15, Austin Peay. Can the Governors get it done at home and put themselves in position for a possible seed in the postseason?
I'm taking UCA, man. On the road, they are really, really good offensively. They're playing, I think now they'll be playing with way more confidence than what they've already been playing. It's a very confident team, but when you win in the fashion they won with the walk-off Hail Mary, you know you can score points. Now, if you can get just a little bit of defense to travel with you, I think they pull this off, man, on the road.
Not so fast, my friend, is what my guy Corso says. Austin Peay is rolling right now. Mike DeLelio at quarterback is playing out of his mind. The defense is flying around. I think this is the year Scotty Walden finally kind of has that breakout season. I think they're playing for it all. Plus, they're at home. That crowd's going to be fired up. Give me Austin Peay with a win over Central Arkansas. Coach, a top 25 matchup. Number 9, North Dakota State at number 22, Northern Iowa. Can the Panthers get the upset and cause even more chaos for the FCS playoffs?
I was really, 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 really torn on this one. You know how I am, how I feel about the home team, especially when the home team has a good team. But I just, for all the reasons I want to take Northern, I just can't do it. And for all the reasons that I say NDSU shouldn't get a high seed is the reason that I'm taking them. Proud program with history. They understand what's at stake. I think the NDSU kids understand what they're playing for. So I got to go with the road team in this situation.
I'm with you. I'll be honest. I almost wrote down the upset because this feels kind of like one of those games that North Dakota State lets down. And all year, they've kind of struggled up until last week against Southern Illinois. They've struggled against the really elite teams in the country. Northern Iowa's always good for one upset. I think they've used their like one voodoo card this season to pull off an upset. Give me North Dakota State. I think Cam Miller has a big day. I think the Bison running attack establishes himself. And I think Theo Day has one too many turnovers this weekend against a stingy secondary for the Bison. Give me North Dakota State with the big top 25 win. Coach, a game that probably determines the Big Sky at large bid and a team that's going to be sitting on the couch. Number 8, Sac State at UC Davis. Can the Hornets get it done on the road, or do the Aggies shock the Hornets in a huge upset at the house?
Sac State is in a must-win situation, and that's crazy to say for the 8th-ranked team in the country to say that they're in a must-win situation, but I think they are in a must-win situation. And I think they have the ingredients to take care of this thing early. So I got to go with Sac State in this one, just because they are backed into a corner, and I think they're going to come out fighting from the beginning.
Again, I'm going to go the other way. I'm taking UC Davis in the upset. This is a team that has played so much differently with Land Larison healthy versus not healthy. He's back 101, 136, and 264 on the ground in his 3 games since returning from his injury. 6 touchdowns in the past 2 weeks. Sac State struggled to stop Montana. UC Davis is going to be at home. They're finally healthy. Sac State's been reeling. I've heard there's some tension in the program. UC Davis for the upset. And coach, this is going to sound crazy because they're ranked 8th in the country. Sac State misses the playoffs after this loss.
Ooh. You heard it here first.
I went on a limb with that one, Coach. A game that I know who you're going to pick. I got to say it because we got to preview everything here. Alabama State at Prairie View. I know who you need to win. So give me your brief pick here. I know who you got though.
But this is why. Not just the factor that I need them to, but as we said earlier in the show, man, games are all about styles and matchups. And I think this is the perfect matchup for Alabama State. They play the run really well on defense, which is what PV wants to do, is run the ball. Alabama State's really good at stopping the run and playing the run. And for those timely passes, I'll be honest with you, that secondary at Alabama State is for real. And it's just one of those things where when we say one of the hottest teams in the country, I believe they are one of the hottest teams in all of FCS football at this point. So I got Alabama State going on the road to win this one because their defense just matches up really, really well with what PV does offensively.
I'm with you. I'm taking Alabama State as well, not because you're my guy and I want y'all in the Tallahassee in a few weeks, but I think this is again, matchups make games in college football. If you had to create a team that was a terrible matchup for PV, this is the team that you would create. They're strong against the run. They have a stingy secondary. PV can run the football, man. Ahmad Antoine and Caleb Johnson are problems, but so is that front 7. And that guy number 1 that no one can seem to find is going to go out there and make plays. The secondary, I think, forces a few turnovers from Trezon. And then another thing that no one's been talking about, someone must have sent the film to the offensive coordinator that they had a superstar wide receiver that they should be getting the ball to. And they finally start. Coach, can you believe they finally started getting the ball to that guy on the outside?
I'm glad they waited till after they played us.
No kidding, right? It's kind of shocking that they have a good wide receiver and they want to give him some targets now.
And he's a dude. He really is a dude.
And PV does not have the talent in the secondary to handle that. I think it's a big day for old Keyshawn Johnson this weekend. So give me Alabama State with the win on the road. Coach,
just give him the damn ball.
That's it. Listen, instead of that run the damn ball quote, give number 1 the damn ball on offense. That's all you got to do. Monmouth at number 12, UAlbany. Coach, do the Great Danes secure the CAA this weekend?
UAlbany, you've been screaming their praises for the last couple weeks. So I'm riding with you on that one.
I picked Coach, and shout out to my guy Kevin Marshall. He gets some credit too because he's been riding with them. Coach, I picked them week 0, and I came on this show and said UAlbany could finish top 5 in the CAA.
Yep,
there are people that said I was crazy.
Yeah, I questioned you. Yeah.
And here we are, and they're probably gonna win the conference. So man, shout out to those guys. We're gonna get some of those players on the show, man. They had a hell of a season. I'm also going to UAlbany. I've been on the bandwagon. The bandwagon's not stopping, and I want to see them in the playoffs. Coach, last game, Charleston Southern at Gardner-Webb. A win for Gardner-Webb this weekend clinches the auto bid and a share of the Big South OVC title with UT Martin. A loss The auto bid goes back to UT Martin, and if they win it goes back to UT Martin regardless, but UT Martin needs it if they lose to Sanford. But that's the situation, Coach. You got the running Bulldogs and my guy Trey Lamb winning this weekend, or is Charleston Southern going to pull off the upset on the road?
Gardner-Webb, like you said, I think they know what's in front of them. They've been playing pretty good ball. When a team is motivated, they're at home. I'm sure, and I don't know where this came from. Maybe you can help me. Maybe I'm the one that started the trend, but I'm sure they already have the cigars in their locker, ready to celebrate this thing. So I'm going Gardner-Webb. And if I'm the one that started the trend with the cigar deal, somebody let me know. Send me a couple. We'll celebrate it together. Gardner-Webb for the win.
Yeah, listen, UT Martin had the cigars on deck. I'm talking about before the game was over. They had them on the sideline, so they had it ready.
Like 2 minutes left in the game, and I saw people like just handing out sticks, and I'm like, okay, maybe
it was funny.
Just good old Coach Fred.
I won't call out my guy. We were taking pictures, after the game, and like, I guess one of the kids didn't know that you weren't supposed to like fully inhale the cigars. And so, man, we were taking pictures, and the dude looks at us and was like, man, I'm feeling a little bit lightheaded out here right now.
Hey,
he didn't know you were supposed to just puff on him. But he was smoking it like a cigarette.
That's not what you do, people. Don't do it. Matter of fact, we're going to get on this show after the season, and I'm going to give lessons. Don't do that unless you want to be green in the face and feel like that young man did. Don't do that.
Like, you imagine playing a whole football game and then smoking a cigar right after.
You have nothing on your stomach.
No chance. Oh man, I felt so bad for him. I felt so bad.
His night was over as soon as he got in the locker room. It was
That's a fact.
It was over.
There was no party, but Coach Gardner-Webb, 4 wins in a row, 5 out of the last 6. Only lost to Austin P. Give me Gardner-Webb and my guy Trey Lamb. Man, I don't think Trey Lamb's getting enough credit for what he's building over there at Gardner-Webb. Man, they're doing a heck of a job. Heck of a job out there. So give me Gardner-Webb for the win. Coach, man, we got to talk a little bit about it, and then we'll end it here and hop off. Soul Bowl this weekend, man. How you feeling? How did the week of practice go? I know it was a short week for y'all, but man, huge game, man. How are you guys feeling going into this one?
Started a little slow for us, man, with the weather, rainy, overcast. The day was a nice bounce. Kids were locked in tune. We know what's at stake. Not even talking about what's at stake, but this is the rival, man. This is what you play for. This is the Soul Bowl, like you said. This is Montana State, Florida State, Iowa State. This is that, and you want that right to talk your trash all year long, and that's what this is about. So put the other stuff aside, which we told the guys. It's about us versus them. It's not about what happens if we win. This is the rival. This is a game that you want to get every year, regardless of your record. So that's how we kind of attacking this thing.
Man, it's going to be such a good matchup because I think on one hand, I'm interested to see how Jacobian Morgan plays because this is really the first. I'm trying to think because Alcorn's top 5 in the SWAC in total defense. It's the first top 5 defense he's faced all year.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how he plays, especially coming off a bye week. Interested to see if Irv Mulligan plays. There's been rumors that he's going to return this week. We'll see. But if he plays, I'm interested to see how he comes out because, man, he was on a pace to – I know Ladarius Owens is having his year. That was Irv Mulligan early in the season. The kid was on a – I want to say it's crazy. Irv hasn't played since, mid-season and is still, second or third in the SWAC in rushing, which is –
yeah, he went crazy.
It's stupid. So we'll see about him. And then also, too – and G said this last night, if there's a Fred McNair signature, it's a crazy loss followed by an insane bounce back win. I want to see what happens. And I also want to see Jackson has struggled with elite edge rushers. Malachi Bailey versus a potential freshman starting left tackle.
Take that.
I'm watching that all day because Quay Davis is a freshman All-American. I'm just going to go ahead and tell y'all he is going to be a freshman All-American in the FCS. Listen, anyone in the chat who are listening who has played offensive line, you're going to relate to me on this. There's a grow up moment for every tackle. And this is the weekend. This is the weekend where when Quay Davis develops into an All-American tackles, I think is that good. He's going to look back and in this interview before he goes off and does whatever. They're going to be like, "What was your welcome to college moment?" This is the weekend that he's going to remember, in my opinion, because that's how good Malachi Bailey is. So that's a big matchup I'm watching. Like I said, we're not going to pick it because obviously my guy coaches on the show. But man, I'll say this: HBCU Nightly was kind of torn last night. There were a lot of picks both ways. It was kind of 50-50 because people were kind of scared to doubt Fred McNair. Other people saw last week and are like, Jackson's coming off of a bye week, a short week for Alcorn. So there's a lot to go into it. But listen, it's going to be 50K in there. And listen, guys, if you haven't been to the Soul Bowl, get there. And me and Coach are going to work for next year. Me and Coach are going to make a trophy for this game.
Oh, if
we're getting that established. Even if it can only be given out at Alcorn, when the game's at Alcorn, me and Coach are going to have a trophy for this game. Listen, I'm going to talk to Ken and those guys over at Jackson. We're going to get a trophy made for this game. I got a feeling TC's for it.
Yeah. You got to.
Yeah.
And this trophy won't be like the, you remember a couple years ago, UConn, and they tried to create this trophy with Central Florida.
Oh yeah, and once and Central Florida was like, bro, we are not accepted. They left it at midfield, bro.
Yeah, they like bump that. Yeah, this trophy won't have that problem. Even though it's created, it won't have that problem. The teams are gonna want this, no doubt about it.
Especially if it's a good one. Coach, real quick, we got to pick it because you're from Florida. Kylan wants to know who you got Florida Classic. I think it's pretty obvious, but
that was going to be one of my super dogs, man, and then I just got away from it. I was like, Cookman's playing really good ball, man. They really are. It's just going to be interesting to see how FAM attacks the situation. If they're attacking the situation, chasing history, wanting to be undefeated in the conference, or if they're going to take the initiative of, we're going to play our guys set amount of time, regardless of what the situation is on the clock. So that's my only question when picking this one, which is why I kind of stayed away from it. But I'm going to go the other way, man. And I'm going to go BCU to cover.
Cover. I was like, Coach, cover 16. I can see that.
17. 16 and a half, 17.
Yeah. I'm taking FAMU. I don't think it's going to be relative. I don't think it's going to be close. Willie knows. Like, I'm telling you, Coach, we've talked about this on this show in the preseason. Willie had a different type of swag to him this season. He knew what he had, and he knows what's coming. And I don't think the worst case for FAMU, lose this weekend and go into the Celebration Bowl limping, can't happen.
I'm with you.
It can't happen, especially because let's say Howard wins. They're going to be a huge favorite. And even though you might be one of the coaches, this, the spread's going to be big against Alcorn, Grambling, or PV. They're going to be heavy favorites. And if Howard gets to the Celebration Bowl, I guarantee FAM's 10+ favorites.
I would think so.
Yeah. So you can't limp into it, because if you lose either of those two games, man, Coach, this.
Mayhem.
Lose the Florida Classic and not win the SWAC or not win the Celebration Bowl.
Mayhem.
So it's a long off season, regardless.
Mayhem.
Especially losing the SWAC championship.
Yeah, mayhem.
You can't have it. And Coach, real quick, because someone did ask in the chat, tonight's game, who you got? Valley, A&M. A&M's a 17-point favorite.
I'm taking A&M in the under. Money line A&M and the under.
I'll take Valley to cover. I'm taking A&M to probably win, though.
Yeah,
but
it's good at 17 and a half.
I'm just warning y'all. If A&M loses this game, turn on your post notifications for A&M Athletics on Twitter.
A&M.
That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. If A&M finds a way to lose this game, it's over.
Or make it close.
Yeah, it's a wrap. And I've heard it might still be over, regardless of what happens tonight. Have on your post notifications, because if they lose, it's a wrap. But I think it's going to be a closer game than people expect, just because, man, Valley really, I mean, they've lost some games, but I mean, it's not like they've just gotten the doors beat off of them every single week by everybody. It's like the top teams have, but they've kind of just been scrappy. And A&M hasn't really been. They're the only team that hasn't blown out UAPB. Like, put that in perspective. And they had them at home on a Thursday night, like tonight.
How interested are those kids going to be?
None.
On Thursday night.
Some will. I mean, some will, but
there'll be less than 500 in the stands. How interested are those kids going to be? That's going to be the question.
Sorry, D-Lob. I didn't mean to put it like that. That's my UAPB guy. You didn't have to put it like that. But D-Lob knows what I'm talking about. D-Lob relates to that. He said the AD is going to meet Maynard at midfield. There won't be no coach handshake. It'll be the AD coming from the other side of the field. Oh, man. But, man, guys, we appreciate y'all tuning in, man. Listen, I don't think y'all realize how much fun me and Coach have doing these shows. Listen, we're gonna let y'all know. I will say though, me and Timothy, I don't know if it'll be a live stream. I think we're gonna pre-record it. We're after the bracket show. Me and him are gonna have a recorded episode, kind of breaking everything down. Me and Coach will return on Monday. Hopefully, my guy will have a conference championship hat on, and we'll be able to celebrate on the show Monday at 4:30 p.m. Central Time. I will be in Tallahassee for the SWAC Championship for sure, and I'm hoping to see my guy Coach down there as well. But guys, any other announcements, community page, Twitter, all that good stuff, make sure to follow me and Coach Fred on social media. But for the Bluebloods, FCS Football Central, my guy Coach Fred, myself, we are out for right now.